Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here to Wall Pass Wednesday. It is a match day edition of SDH. We'll get you ready for Atlanta and Orlando City tonight from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You can listen on 92.9 The Game. You can watch on Fox Sports South. All the things. We got the Cars for Kids ad coming into the show on Twitch. No, it's big time. We're moving up in the world if we're getting Cars for Kids. That means they like us. They're everywhere. So we've moved up. Jason Nix is subscribed on Twitch. Thank you, Jason Nix. Thanks to everybody who supports the show in any way you do. Yeah. We've still got a few Marcelino Moreno scarves for you. They could possibly get out to you today if you get them ordered early. If not, they're going to go out tomorrow. It's looking like he could make his debut on Saturday. Fingers crossed for that. They're $25. They are also, all the proceeds are benefiting the Escuela de Fútbol Marcelino Moreno at Atlético Palmira, his first club in Argentina that named their soccer school after him. He's not going to be there tonight on the field anyway. It's going to be Atlanta and Orlando from the Benz. 7 o'clock, just after 7 kickoff. Airtime for radio and for TV is at 6:30 for pregame coverage. Orlando City has not lost in 9. Atlanta United's won 2 of their last 3. Abby has now subscribed on Twitch as well. Awesome. Thank you all. It's going to be I think a really good match tonight because as I've dug into the numbers a little bit deeper on both of these teams, Atlanta's playing their best soccer since the restart. I think there's really no question about that in their last 3, and Orlando's playing their best soccer of the season in this 9-game stretch that maybe it's dipped a little bit in these last 3 games, maybe a little bit more than you might think. So we'll get into all that today. We'll take your questions on the match. We've got Mike Conti and Doug Robertson joining us in hour number 2. We've got a whole night of MLS to talk about as well. We got juice boxes to get into. We got fantasy predictions to get into. We got all the things to get into today. So, John, where do you want to start?
Well, this is probably like half a sentence. Nashville and Minnesota, goalless draw last night to start the weekend.
Oh, you're going to be one of those guys, huh? There's no goals, so it wasn't any good. I disagree.
But you had Joe Willis in net for good reason.
I'm not talking about fantasy. I'm not one of those guys either who's like, I only care about my fantasy team. It was a good game. It was a back-and-forth game. It wasn't a boring, scoreless draw to me at all.
See, but that's the thing is that people always sit there and associate goalless draws with awful games.
You just did that. What are you doing? You just said, well, it's only going to take a couple of sentences. Like, you started that, not me.
In a general sense, goalless games, it's like pitcher's duels. If you like pitcher's duels, then you're attracted to stuff like this.
Keep digging, man. Keep trying to get out of the hole. I don't know where you're going to go with this because you trashed the game.
That's bottom line. That's it for me. It's you'll sit there and you look at a score line, and it's a goalless draw, and you go, "Oh, that must have been the most boring thing ever."
What did you do to introduce the game?
Considering that we have 3, 6, 9, 12 other games to get to here in 55
Oh, okay. Now you're going to try to swing the meaning. Okay, I got you.
It's time management,
no, it's all good.
Sir.
It's all good. That's a good try. I like it.
Time management.
We've got entirely too many troublemakers here.
It's ridiculous.
Name's Dalton.
It's ridiculous. All right, it was a good game last night, but it's a draw. Minnesota's probably a little happy with it. Nashville probably wanted a little bit more out of this. I think they probably deserved a little bit more out of it when you look at kind of the way it played out. But Nashville's proving to be a very difficult team to beat these days. This is a good defense. This is a team that needs Yonder Cadiz in the worst way. This is a team that needs more of an attack. But it was... I thought it was a good match. I was entertained. Look at the numbers really quick before we move on. I mean, you had 23 shots in it. You had 7 shots on target between the two teams. Nashville dominated the possession, which is not typical for them. Nashville just needs more in the attack. Both teams were missing a lot of people. I mean, you saw Matt LaGrassa, you saw Todd Ryan Anunga start for Nashville. You saw Derek Jones start. Alex Muehl was up top. A little bit of a piecemeal group for Nashville on the Minnesota side. Aaron Schoenfeld got the start up top. You've got Molino, you've got Finley, you've got Reynoso. Maybe you wanted a little bit more because on paper, I think it's safe to say that Minnesota was the better team on paper. Yeah. But Nashville gets the result. So when we come into today and we come into the table, live standings, Nashville is in the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. They are on 17 points. They have that game in hand that I'm guessing will come against Dallas at some point. And that has them ahead of Chicago by a point. That has them ahead of Cincinnati by 4. That has them ahead of Miami and D.C. by 6 points. And they have a game in hand over everybody. They're level on points with Montreal and Atlanta on 17. You look over at the western side of things, Minnesota is your number 4 team in the West, although they've played one more game than everybody ahead of them. Sporting Kansas City, 1 point ahead. Portland, 2 points ahead. Seattle, 5 points ahead, leading the Western Conference. And Minnesota, 1 point ahead of LAFC and Dallas, 2 points ahead of Colorado, although Colorado's got 2 games in hand, and 4 points ahead of RSL. And they're only safe in the playoff race by 5 points over San Jose. The Western Conference is kind of strange. I want to see what Nashville ends up looking like with Cadiz. That's the biggest question mark I have about Nashville. Does that make them more threatening? We'll just have to see. I don't think they're going to get worse defensively. So I think if they can find anything going forward, this could be a team that is a problem in the postseason. Is definitely a problem in the postseason. All right, we got a bunch of games to get into tonight. Do you want to go juice boxes first on these, or do you want to touch on news from around the world before we get into the MLS side?
Let's go news around the world since they had an earlier start on the rest of the planet.
All right. Barcelona. A bunch of stuff going on with Barcelona. It looks like the vote on no confidence for President Bartomeu is going to go forward. They are going to have enough signatures for that. He could resign before they get to that vote. He should, because he's not going to win that vote. Will he? We don't know. Because of their poor planning, they moved a bunch of players on in the transfer window and got minimal cash for it because they're just run very poorly. And they are also starting the process to reduce salaries due to COVID losses, according to Reuters. Players, coaches, non-sporting staff, I guess there is a process for this that Barcelona has to start. Staff have been notified by the club of the need to reduce costs after posting a $114 million loss in their annual financial report. The employees, including players, have been asked to nominate a representative over the next 2 weeks to represent them in the negotiations over the changes to their salaries. Well, that's going to go well. The club enacted a temporary pay cut of 70% at the end of March. This was at the height of the pandemic, which lasted through the duration of the Spanish national state of emergency, national state of alarm. That ended in June. That helped a little bit. It didn't help that much. So, look, they lost, what was it, $114 million?
Yep.
Could they have gotten that by selling Lionel Messi in this window?
Just saying.
It's very possible. And he's probably going to sign a pre-contract to leave on a free. Could do that in January. That's really good planning, Barcelona. Good job. And now, after the window, after it's all closed, then you're going to tell people, we're going to cut your salaries. Yeah, that's good job. Good job, guys. Well done. Well done. This is going to go really well. I can imagine this is going to be no worries, no problems, no drama. Nah, it's all good. Yeah, Bartomeu, well done. Okay. We've had a few players in the international sphere because we've got national team matches starting today. Mexico and the Netherlands friendly with Frank de Boer and Tata Martino. That kicks us off at 2:30 this afternoon on ESPN2. But you're getting players who are testing positive on international duty. France defender Leo Dubois is he's been sent home. He tested positive. He's going to miss these games. We've got a player for Argentina, Salvio from Boca Juniors, who I think had an inconclusive test, and he was kept separate from the group. We've also got the England players who are suspended for a game due to breaking protocols. It's going to be a weird international break, John.
Yes, with all of those things going on. And Jonathan Tannenwald has been very busy this morning with the updates involving Jose Martinez. Apparently, Martinez is now going to be a part of the Venezuelan national team. The union said that the issue was settled, that he wasn't going to Venezuela. The Venezuelan Federation forced the union to let him go with a letter from FIFA.
Yeah. And you can't hold on. I mean, there's no debate there.
Yeah.
Like, no. There's no debate. This is what we've covered. This is the stuff. This stuff gets confusing because it's not covered correctly. In this window, if a national team calls a player up, they got to go. The only way they don't go is if they have to quarantine upon arrival or upon return. That's it. And not a league rule, MLS. That's not a quarantine. That's a league rule. We're talking a local or national government quarantine. Philadelphia doesn't have that. So they couldn't say no. I'm shocked it got to this point. That's really poor on the Philadelphia Union's part. Because if he's called up, and they can ask and they can beg and they can say, please don't take him, et cetera, et cetera. If he's called up, they have to let him go. I can't believe it took a letter from FIFA.
Tannenwald also says the director of the agency that represents Martinez says FIFA told the union Martinez would be ineligible to play club games during the international window.
Well, yeah, again, it does. None of that matters. This is the stuff. Like, guys, this is not complicated. It doesn't matter about anything other than, was he called up? Yes. Okay, they can't say no. They don't have a quarantine. There's no quarantine in Philadelphia or the state of Pennsylvania. They can't deny it. If they deny it, they're in breach of FIFA rules. And he's not going to be able to play for them while they're in breach of FIFA rules. There's nothing to it. Like, it's that simple. This is where we go back to this whole thing when FIFA said, we're going to allow the issues with call-ups to be like they were in September. If there are quarantine situations, then clubs can say no, because the player would then miss extra time with their club game. But when there's not, no, they got to go. So, I mean, this is a bad look that it got to this point. It's a really bad look for the Philadelphia Union. And it's a bad look for MLS. There's no debate. And, I mean, Captain Ragamuffin's right. He needs an undisclosed upper body injury. If he didn't want to go, well, yeah, that happens. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Guys who are banged up and their manager doesn't want them to go on international duty, they get injured. And they usually miss time in the game before the break, or they after that game it's announced they have an injury. You couldn't pull that now because it'd get questioned because you already fought it. Very bad look for Philadelphia. Very bad look for MLS. And there's no need for it because you were never going to win that argument. Just a waste of time.
FIFA says you go. That's it.
Yeah, well, they made it. They said that because that's the rule. Then they reiterated that. Then they did give a little bit of dispensation because of the quarantines. But there's no debate here. Burns says, I don't think Ernst Tanner is a fan of releasing players for national teams. He famously kept Firmino from playing for Brazil's Olympic team, which isn't mandatory, while at Hoffenheim. Sure. Then he should have. If Martinez didn't really want to go, then there should have been an injury. But if Martinez wanted to go, you have nothing you can do. And I would assume with Venezuela having a chance to qualify for the first time, every Venezuelan player wants to be there. So there's just no way around it. And to get to this point, it's a very, very bad look internationally. And I mean, that's just the fact. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah. No, like I said, that came across with Jonathan Tannenwald's Twitter over the last 5 or 10
I know, but we've got to be clear in the way that this stuff gets reported, because I see so much confusion result in the way things get talked about on this side, and it can't. Like, there's no confusion here, and that just needs to be driven home. He was called up. They should have let him go. I don't know why it got to this point when they play on Thursday. I think they might play Friday. I think they're in the Friday game. Shouldn't have been a problem. He already should have been there.
They play Cincy at home tomorrow.
I'm not talking about Philadelphia. I'm talking about Venezuela, the team he's going to be playing for.
Okay.
Because there's a game. He's got to travel.
Okay. Sorry, I was getting my teams and my dates mixed up.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. Now you've affected his preparation for his national team game.
Right.
If he's just leaving now, if he tried to fight it, and that's just very disappointed with that. Very disappointed with that. That's a bad look.
What else is going on internationally?
One that did make the international news that is a domestic story is Junior Fleming's Phoenix Rising. The situation with San Diego Royal and Phoenix. Fleming's has been suspended for 6 matches by a USL Championship for using a homophobic slur against Colin Martin of the San Diego Loyal. He'll miss the whole postseason. Let's see. That's really it. 11 interviews with players, coaches, and match officials. He's suspended for the whole of the playoffs. Phoenix said he'll remain on administrative leave through the end of his contract on November 30th. And Phoenix said they will try to learn from this and move on. But everything that was discussed on that night between the two managers and between the players on the field was proven to be true. So Fleming's issued a statement that was incorrect. Rick Shantz issued a statement that was incorrect after the game. Shantz has recanted that. Fleming's, I've not seen a statement from him after this happened. He's suspended for a long time, and I'd be fairly surprised if Phoenix brought him back on a new contract after his expires on November 30th.
Yeah, and then you wonder about Junior Fleming's professionally going forward. Do you make the public statements to try to once again recant as your head coach has done and try to...
I don't know if you can. I mean, he said it.
And try to sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to try to learn and be a better person, those kinds of things. What is his future professionally? That's, to me, is the larger question now, in addition to everything else.
It's a tougher fit because, I mean, he said it. He came out and he said he didn't say it. Mm-hmm. He's been found guilty of saying it.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a whole lot to work with here.
Yeah. And what club wants to take that kind of a risk in this modern?
Not even that. Leave that to the side for now. I'm just talking about from him. Like, his public statement is that he did not say something. Yeah. But he's been found guilty of saying it. So, unless he's going to say that the USL Championship is lying and that the 11 interviews were all lies, now he's lied. That's the biggest issue for me on this, is that he doubled down and was found to be lying by the USL Championship. So I don't think he's coming back in USL Championship. He'll find a club somewhere probably, because he will do the things you have to do to apologize and all that, and hopefully he will learn from it. Yeah. But I mean, it's not like he said something that he didn't know what it meant. And he's been found guilty of saying that term that is a Jamaican slang term. So, I don't know what else he can really try to pull off to get out of this, but I don't think he's back in Phoenix. I just have no expectation that he's going to be back in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Abby has a question. When the players go with their teams on... Okay, let me start over. Okay, I have a question. When the players go with their teams are on charter flights, what if they don't want to do their call-up because they're not on a charter flight that gets to their home country? The player... If you are a player and you try to deny a national team call-up, you might be ending your national team career.
Right.
If you're a Jose Martinez, you would be in that situation. The charter flight thing probably does get a little interesting. we talked about it on Argentina's side with Lionel Messi and a charter flight and people meeting up with him and flying with him. Well, Messi's got that kind of cash, and the Argentine Federation, I think, had a different group come in on a charter flight from Europe as well. They've got money to work with. Venezuela does not. So I don't know if you could deny the call-up realistically based on those grounds, because so many other players are going forward with it. He doesn't have the stature to be able to do it, is the biggest thing. He would be putting his international career at risk. And he wouldn't do that right now. So I don't know what special situations are being done for travel during this for the majority of teams. That would be a good question. We'll see what we can find out, but I don't think that would have worked. It would not have worked for Philadelphia to say, we don't want him to go because of this. That would not have worked. That wouldn't have mattered. The player could have fought it out with his federation, but that would put his national team career at risk. And most players aren't going to do that. Lionel Messi could. A player of that stature could, but they could also probably arrange their own travel whatever way they wanted to and handle it that way. So it's tricky. Mazzano with another question on this. Are there any repercussions that a club team can take if a player under contract gets hurt, not during the run of play when on loan to a national team, since that player is not usable and will incur financial burden in the form of rehabilitation to their club? There is insurance. There is insurance here. I think FIFA has a system with this as well, but clubs typically have insurance on this as well, and it's going to be different in every case. I know FIFA has a system because we've seen it at like FIFA competitions where a player gets hurt in a World Cup, for example, and a club can request, and I don't know how it's structured. I don't know what kind of money it is. I don't know, what percentage. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but clubs have requested compensation for injuries during FIFA competitions. Now, these are continental competitions, World Cup qualifiers. I don't know all the circumstances, but yeah, there's something there, whether it's insurance or something in place from FIFA.
No, and when was the last time that a player was in that situation that you can recall where a player was injured on international duty and it applied back here to the States? Can you think of one off the top of your head?
Miles Robinson.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure that's what Mazzano's kind of getting on. That's a little bit different situation, but I don't know how that played out. I don't know if there was any request for compensation or anything like that. I mean, we've seen it happen. Minor injuries probably don't fall under that. Major ones would. I know I've seen it. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I can't think of one for the U.S. that I can remember, but it has happened. It will happen again. It's just part of it, and it's why clubs don't really like the international breaks and don't like all the international play, because they're the ones who are paying the salaries for these players for the most part, and they're the ones who stand to take the biggest loss. And that's why you have Philadelphia fighting a call-up, because they're the ones that are going to miss out on having Martinez right now, but you can't fight the call-ups. That's part of the situation. FIFA's got that negotiated. There's nothing you can do to fight that.
Let's see. On Twitter this morning, a couple of things having to do with the matchup tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Kefsey says the good news is that FIFA 21 clearly doesn't respect Orlando City. Apparently, you can do an auto goal. Orlando had an auto goal scored upon itself by Barco.
FIFA doesn't give you an auto goal. You're playing the computer, and they scored on themselves. It's an own goal.
So there you go.
You don't play FIFA very much, do you?
No, I don't.
Have you ever played a video game before, John?
In television, Odyssey 2.
No PlayStation?
No, I wasn't a PlayStation guy.
Sega Dreamcast?
Nope. Like I said.
Nintendo?
It might have been early. But yeah, for me, it was Mattel and television. It was Odyssey 2 from Magnavox. And I have back in the closet behind me the vintage reissue of Atari. It's the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Vintage reissue of like Atari and Activision and all that kind of stuff, and we have to plug it into the television.
Activision made games. It wasn't a system.
Well, whatever Activision plugged into, you took the Activision cartridge and you plugged it into whatever game it was you were playing.
Better.
What?
Better. You're getting close.
Yeah?
You're scrambling trying to find something that's real, and you got kind of close there, so we'll take it.
Okay.
Dig Dug is probably a game that you played, according to Matt Wagner.
That is true. I was not very good at it, but I did play it.
Dig Dug did not have own goals, so yeah, just smile and nod on the autogolazos from Orlando City that Kefsi dialed up on FIFA 21.
And Kefsi's also predicting a 4-0 win.
Kefsi, have you been getting into things this morning? It's early for 4-0 win predictions. Wow. That's bold.
Uh-huh. And Jason Nix was in after the run-up last night, and he says, I know we're all shocked, in capital letters, that the MLS Disco didn't do anything about the Assad tackle. Is this the worst decision ever, or merely a horribly blind and dangerous one? At MLS, this decision is a dangerous precedent that's a red in every major league in the world.
I don't like the look of it.
Yeah?
I was wondering who was going to ask about this. I don't know why there is a disciplinary committee, to be perfectly honest, anymore. No, I don't think they have an agenda against Atlanta United, but if you're Atlanta United, you can't help but be angry about it because you might want to mute your laptop there.
I am unmuting the laptop.
You're having a great opening 30 minutes.
Muted.
Okay. Might need to mute the disciplinary committee because
they've already muted themselves. So.
No, they haven't. That's the thing, is that they do things. They come out and they rule on things. So, I mean, it doesn't even work that they're not doing something. They are. They came out with their decisions. They saw fit to give a fine to a Vancouver player for failing to leave the field in a timely manner. They found San Jose and the Galaxy in violation of the mass confrontation policy. They both got a warning. Wando and Pavone and Chicharito got a fine. John Gallagher got a fine for simulation. Franco Escobar got suspended. What Franco Escobar got suspended for was nothing like what Nicolas Figal did to John Gallagher, and nothing like what Yamil Assad did to Brooks Lennon. Yet, Atlanta had a player miss a match while Atlanta players were elbow/forearmed in the jaw and tackled from behind when the ball was gone, and the players who did that got nothing. I'm sorry. I know how hard it is to be on a disciplinary committee. I've been on a disciplinary committee. I've served on disciplinary committees. I've served on disciplinary committees for youth soccer in the state of Georgia, for adult soccer in the state of Georgia, for the NPSL on a national level. It's not easy. You're hearing both sides of it in a normal case. These are not that difficult. You look at the video, you see Figal throw his arm back intentionally. The referee said it wasn't that big of a deal because he didn't catch him with his elbow. That's what he told Stephen Glass. He caught him with his forearm. You have to see that and say, we don't want this in our game. We're going to suspend him because we don't want that to be the norm. You added a game to Romel Kyoto for doing something very similar when he was red carded. So why did you not suspend Figal to begin with? The Assad one is just simple, basic stuff. If you're going to look at the Escobar one, and say, all right, pro, you guys missed this. Y'all got it wrong completely. You're going to admit you got it wrong. We're going to suspend him, and we're going to be unanimous in it. How do you look at that and look at the Yamil Assad tackle and not suspend him? How do you do those two things? Because it's the same committee. That's the problem I have, is you're suspending a player for kicking out at somebody. Fine. If that's the bar, fine. But to not suspend Yamil Assad for a dirty, reckless, dangerous, cynical, potentially injury-filled tackle, At the end of a match, which this does affect it in my opinion, the end of a match where you're getting blown out, and you do that late in a match for no reason in soccer, you're going in to hurt somebody. And the disciplinary committee is going to rule on Franco Escobar kicking out at somebody. No potential real injury there. Give him a suspension. But Yamil Assad gets nothing for something that was far more dangerous, far more cynical, far more reckless, and could have caused a much worse injury. Against a player who, by the way, had scored a goal and had 2 assists in the match and had made your team look like a bunch of clowns. The disciplinary committee should all resign, and MLS should get involved in this and fix it, because that's an embarrassment, and it has added up. And that's what's frustrating here. Because, no, I don't think MLS told the disciplinary committee, we don't want Atlanta players to be treated fairly. No, they didn't say that. There's no reason for them to say that. But when you have the situations that have happened, what are you supposed to draw from it? Franco Escobar suspended. 2 players came together, pushing, shoving. Escobar got frustrated, kicked his legs out from under him. They get into a pull-apart. Jawing back and forth. Escobar gets suspended for that. Figal throws an elbow/forearm into somebody's mouth. Nothing. Yamil Assad tackle from behind in a 4-0 game against the player who has wrecked your team. Nothing. So now, if you're late in games, hey, roll the dice. Somebody scored a couple goals against you. Go clatter into him from behind. See what happens. See what happens. Because if the ref misses it, and the VAR misses it, like they did in this case, the disciplinary committee is not going to do anything to you. See what happens. Somebody scores a couple goals against you. That's what's on the table now. It's a joke. It's an absolute, complete joke. And it can't happen anymore. MLS has to fix this. They have to fix this. Because this is wrong. And I don't know the way the policy goes. This is what I want to know, and this is the answer I want. Does Pro have to admit that they got it wrong completely before the disciplinary committee can say anything? Do they not even get a chance to look at it unless Pro said, yeah, we screwed that one up? If that's the case, then Pro needs to be hammered to the wall on the Figal and Assad issues. Completely. Because if Pro's going to admit that they got it wrong on the Escobar one, but not admit that they got it wrong on the Figal and Assad ones, then I don't know what Pro's doing either, because they're not upholding player safety. So if that's the way it goes, then it's all on Pro, if the disciplinary committee can't even look at it. I don't think that's the case. If the disciplinary committee has looked at it and said, yeah, we think this is a suspension, and Pro won't admit that they got it wrong, then they're at fault. If the disciplinary committee could look at it and say, well, we don't think it's unanimous that these should be suspensions, then they got it wrong. The Assad one's a red card in any league in the world. It should have been a red card on the night. The Figal one should have been a red card on the night. That's on the referee. That's on the VAR. That didn't happen. The referee makes the final decision. We don't know if the VAR recommended it to them or not. That's on them on the night. You have VAR there for a reason to help you with these things. The disciplinary committee is there to clean up the mistakes. They haven't. They haven't done it. And it's a failure on the part of the league in this case. There needs to be answers. The fact that the Figal one was left out of Pro's video tells you a lot. Tells you a whole lot. Because I would, as somebody who works in the game, and somebody who has played, and somebody who has coached, and somebody who has been on disciplinary committees, I would have loved to have heard the conversation about why that was not a red card. Because contact with somebody's face has been something the league has talked about, really wanting to protect. They didn't. And they don't even want to have the conversation about it in the Figal one. Okay. Tackling from behind has been something that FIFA and referees have been worried about since the early 90s. The Yamil Assad tackle was a throwback to the 80s kind of style of punishing players who have done well against you. It was dirty. I don't care that Yamil Assad played here in 2017. It was a dirty tackle. And I don't think it was by accident on Brooks Lennon, who had a great night against you. And he got nothing out of it. He didn't get a red card out of it, and that's a joke. And the disciplinary committee could have fixed it, and the fact that they didn't is a joke. And this has to change, because now you've had a suspension. You've had 2 that did not get suspended for other players, and that wouldn't have helped Atlanta. I mean, Yamil Assad, that's the thing. Like, he would have gotten a red card in that game. You would have missed him for a couple minutes. It's 4-0. It didn't matter for Atlanta. It matters for player safety. And it matters when you're getting popped for Escobar getting suspended, and Assad and Figal are not getting popped. The Figal one affected a match. The Figal one not being red carded that night, not having the second half man advantage, that affected a match. That's a bigger deal. This is a joke. This is just a complete and utter joke, and I don't take the disciplinary committee seriously at all anymore. Because why should you? If they're not going to punish Yamil Assad, go put the clown wig on, go put the floppy shoes on, and sit and watch your tapes each week, then, disciplinary committee. That's a joke. That's an absolute clown show of a disciplinary committee.
Bart's in this morning, and he says, how or who can MLS disciplinary committee and pro be challenged on these rulings? This wasn't just bad. It's clearly an inconsistent thought pattern based on previous decisions. Where is the accountability?
I have no idea. Other than asking Major League Soccer and asking the people that have public-facing accounts, I have no idea. There's not a committee, and there's not a committee public list of names and email addresses. And I understand that because, yeah, I feel like they really got wrong. But how many times are you going to see, because this has happened, when a referee makes a bad call in a game and somebody tries to dox the referee because they made a bad call against your team? I don't want the disciplinary committee to get doxed and all this kind of nonsense. I just want them to do their jobs. That's all. If they're going to be on the committee, take it seriously and do your job. If you're not, then don't be on the committee. And if you're on the committee to handle discipline in the league, well, Yamil Assad should be disciplined. Nicolas Figal should be disciplined. But all I can say is ask Pro and ask MLS, because Pro needs to admit they got it wrong too. I don't know how you don't get it right with Yamil Assad's tackle. Pro's got bigger issues from that game with the fourth official allowing a player who wasn't even on the game sheet to come in. They got to get that right too, but that doesn't mean that the referee, Joseph Dickerson in this case, gets off the hook. That's a red card. All day, every day.
And to your point, for me, it is a dangerous precedent that is being set here, because teams late in matches, you can go ahead and sit there and roll the dice and try to chase after somebody and do a nasty tackle, and the result is the result. You know, if you make an impact with them and the guy gets injured and the opposing team's out for a couple of days, you're setting a dangerous precedent here by not doing something if you're the disciplinary committee.
I'm over it with the disciplinary committee, to be perfectly honest. Don't come in with any nonsense. Don't come in with a fine for diving, like Burns says. Don't come in with a fine for mass confrontation. Don't come in with any of that nonsense anymore. You can take those and just leave them in the trash can in your little virtual room if you're not going to punish forearms, elbows to the mouth, and you're not going to punish a ridiculously cynical tackle from a player at the end of a blowout, because that makes it worse. Not from you missed it and it would have helped the team who should have had the red, or should have played against a team that was shorthanded. No. It makes it worse because Yamil Assad knew exactly what he was doing. He was angry. He was frustrated. He saw the guy who had been whooping them all night, and he goes in from behind after the ball is gone and doesn't get red carded. I mean, that's going to be one that ends up on highlights of the worst missed red cards you've ever seen. It's that bad. And for the disciplinary committee not to get involved in it, complete and utter clown show. And it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment for this league. And Pro should want nothing to do with it. Referees will make mistakes. That's fine. Referees will miss calls. No problem. I don't take that personally. I don't get angry about that they missed a call, they're a horrible person. No. They miss calls. It's hard. You have a VAR now that should be there to help you fix missed calls. Okay, you got to use them. You got to listen to them. You got to go take a look at the monitor sometimes. All right, fine. Say you feel like you got it right. You don't want to listen to the VAR. Say you don't trust the VAR. Say the VAR showed you something that was a joke before and you don't trust them. Okay. This is where the disciplinary committee comes in and cleans it up. They got your back. This was a no-brainer. This was a red card. This was a suspension. Should be a multiple-game suspension in my book. But at a minimum, it's a game suspension for Yamil Assad. It should be, and it's not. It's a joke. It's a total clown show, and they're going to come in with a fine for embellishment? Get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense.
We got juice boxes and we got fantasy. Anything else on your mind on the sheet?
No, let's get into it before we miss the opportunity. So, games tonight. We've got quite a few. We'll hit them quickly. Red Bulls hosting Miami. Red Bulls come to Atlanta this weekend. Miami coming shortly. Red Bulls are a slight favorite.
In the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, Red Bulls are a plus 146. Enter Miami, a plus 171, and your draw a plus 261.
Red Bulls at home. I like Red Bulls in that game. New England and Toronto. New England's a slight favorite, which I don't know if I buy that one.
Plus 154 in the composite. Toronto FC is a plus 167. Your draw's a plus 250. I like Toronto.
Yeah, I like Toronto in that too, especially with a bigger number. A couple of not slight favorites, actually quite a few here. Philadelphia at home to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's got a big number next to them.
That they do. It's a plus 446 in the composite. Philadelphia is a minus 161, and your draw option is almost at plus 300.
Don't trust Cincinnati at all. I just don't trust them. I thought they would get a clean sheet against Minnesota. They couldn't pull that off. No, Cincinnati. You get no support. Columbus hosting Montreal, an even bigger number for the Impact.
Montreal pushing plus 600.
Oof.
The Crew is a minus 238. Your draw's a plus 380.
That's probably a comfortable one for the Crew, at least on paper. MLS is not played on paper, as we are finding out.
But they don't play the games on paper, sir.
Yeah, that's true, John. But it's Montreal. They're not winning. New York City hosting D.C. D.C. is an even bigger number.
True. They are a plus 674 in the composite. NYCFC is a minus 256. Your draw's a plus 383. Has the Matricia situation changed?
No. Why would it?
Well, I mean, is he on this coast or is he on the other coast? Is he on this continent or the other one?
He was never on this continent, John. He was going on international duty.
Okay. Never mind. Next.
Yeah, he was going to Romania, no question. They let him go, and he had personal matters to attend to, which could be involved with a loan/transfer that was not discussed at the time. They are, I believe, talking about it. NYC is trying to slow walk this thing. It's kind of an embarrassing way to handle it. But they should probably embarrass DC United tonight.
Yes.
Houston hosting Dallas. Houston's a pretty decent favorite here.
Plus 110 in the composite. FC Dallas a plus 222, and your draw's a plus 274.
You get Dallas plus 200. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm considering it. Chicago on the road in Kansas City. The Fire not getting a lot of respect.
Plus 326 in the composite. Your draw's a plus 305. Sporting a minus 133.
Look, Kansas City's lost some games at home. If you like Chicago, that's got to be one that grabs your attention. Because Kansas City's had some inexplicable losses at home before. I don't know if Chicago gets it done. I do think the Fire are a pretty solid squad. I just don't know how to feel about Kansas City. Colorado, first time in a while for them. They're hosting LAFC. They've had 2 matches postponed and rescheduled, so they will be well rested, but it's been a while since they played.
Plus 129 in the composite. LAFC is a plus 174, and your draw is almost at plus 300.
I would imagine there will be a lot of action on LAFC in that one. Anytime you get them as an underdog, people are going to take it. I don't know if you should. Colorado's just a toss-up. I wouldn't touch it because I don't know what Colorado is going to come in like.
Right.
Late games, Seattle hosting RSL. RSL is a massive underdog.
RSL's a plus 463 in the composite. Seattle's a minus 172, and your draw's a plus 312.
No way I'm betting on RSL there. I just can't do it. Galaxy hosting Portland. Portland's a little bit more of an underdog than I would have imagined here.
Plus 221
That's
in the
That's
composite.
a large number against the Galaxy.
Plus 281 for the draw, and the Galaxy are a plus 108.
Man, Portland, y'all fooled me before when I said, go with Portland in this situation, then you lost. Then I said, I'm not trusting Portland, and you win. Gio, why do you do this to me? I think Portland wins it. San Jose, a big home favorite against the Whitecaps.
Minus 208 in the composite. Vancouver is a plus 534, and your draw is a plus 359.
Do we trust the Whitecaps like that?
No.
But do we trust San Jose like that?
No. Not touching this one with anybody else's 10-foot pole, much less my own.
If you got a really ugly juice box and you're looking at these Vancouver large numbers, RSL large numbers, Chicago's not a big enough number to get into this conversation. DC, Montreal, Cincinnati. You got to take one of the massive underdogs. I'm taking Vancouver out of that because San Jose is the favored team that I trust the least.
Yeah, I got to go that way. PointsBet has come out with their odds for teams to win MLS Cup.
Okay, what are they thinking?
All right. Two teams are at plus 450. LAFC and Toronto.
LAFC's still the favorite to win the league?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sports bet? Is that what this outlet's called?
That's what PointsBet.
Points bet? Y'all paying attention? Really? Points bet. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Seattle plus 800.
Okay.
Philadelphia plus 1100.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta plus 1400.
Okay. What's Columbus?
Plus 1400.
Okay. Still. Wow. That's disrespect for the crew.
Who else do you want to know? That's your top six.
What's
basically.
Portland? Since they always want to mess with me.
3, 6, 9. They are 10th at plus 2000.
Gio, I'll take the Blackberry Current juice box and throw it on the Timbers. How about that? I don't know how
Nashville
LAFC
is a plus 30,000. They're last.
And are you surprised?
That they're below Vancouver and Cincinnati.
Oh, that's
and
just
DC.
dumb. That's just dumb. Where's Miami? Because I'm sure they probably are hyped up about Gonzalo Higuain, and they've got Miami in a place they shouldn't be.
Third from last at plus 12,500.
Not that much. That's horrendous. If they're actually giving you these odds, you might want to go look at them if there's a team you feel strongly about, because those are absurd. Fantasy stuff. Let's get into the fantasy lineups. Ricky Ricardo, giving you a couple minutes to get your squad pulled up. I had Joe Willis in the team, and he got me a clean sheet last night, so that was good. I had Roman Mettener in the team. He got me a clean sheet last night, so that was good, and he's got another game to potentially better his 9 points. Back line, or who's your goalkeeper this week?
Shuttleworth.
You've got Shuttleworth in goal.
Against DC.
Okay. Back line, what do you have?
Mabiala, Sekulic, Brooks Lennon, and Omar Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah, you're going 4. I got Kessler from New England. He kept the spot with me. And Brooks Lennon, because he doesn't necessarily play on the back line, and I like to have those kinds of spots.
Yeah.
Midfield, who do you have?
Krylock going on the Vancouver matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Vaco going on the Vancouver matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Pasuelo, Herbers, and captained Ladero.
Okay. I've got Ladero. I've got Herbers. I have Diego Valeri, and I've captained him. And I have Cristian Espinoza from San Jose. Up top, what you got?
Jordan Morris.
Oh, you're 4-5-1 for some reason. I've got Baric. I've got Jossie Zardes. And I've got John Gallagher. Because he was a very price-effective pick that allowed me to squeeze Espinoza and Valeri into my midfield.
I like that.
Last 3 games, his numbers have been great. So, and he's only $6.3 million. I snatched him up.
Nice.
Because it allowed me to stretch and put $9 million on Espinoza, $11 million on Valeri. I mean, that allowed me to have 4 guys over $10 million, and Zardis is at 9.9, and Espinoza is at 9.1. So that allowed me to spread the wealth a little bit.
Nice.
We'll see if it works out. I mean, I'm betting on Gallagher here because it's not just been one game; it's been a run of games where he's been good.
Yeah.
So, good.
I've got 4 guys that are over 11 million. Pasuelo at 16.5, Ladero at 15.7, Herbers at 11.1, and Morris at 13.7.
Okay, Ricky's got Steve Clark in goal. Ricky's got Lennon and Metzner and Gasper. Gasper was out of this one, but maybe he'll be back for the next one. Who do they play? They play Dallas next? Yeah, they play Dallas next. Reynoso, Lodero, Pozuelo, and he's got Lodero as the captain, and Ricky's got up top Shabilko, Morris, and Castellanos. I went Valeri as my captain. I think Portland will have a good night against the Galaxy and maybe a better night against San Jose. And he said he accidentally messed up on Gasper, so it happens. It can happen, especially on an international week, and you got injuries and you got all kinds of craziness. You got to check that stuff. So check your lineups today. Make sure you've got guys who are still in the league. Make sure you've got guys who are still in the country and not on international duty. Double check all of that.
Yes, and make sure that they're also playing in this country and not playing someplace else.
That was the first thing I said.
Tofka wants to know if
I'm with it. I'm hip.
What you got?
No doubt. Tofka wants to know if there's any more news on the sale of RSL.
Nothing yet, which isn't a surprise. I mean, I believe there are still discussions, but there was a lot of interest, so I don't think it's all gone. I just don't know where things stand. Once you get to that point, I think it gets kind of quiet until you have a deal. So I haven't heard any updates, but also haven't been surprised by that.
Chris Ashley is in this morning early, and he says, I know everyone is rooting against Orlando City's MLS side this evening, but can I bring a petition to the floor for fans to root hard for OCB tonight against Richmond?
Sure. I don't think it's going to help because OCB is not very good.
No. We have 3 games in League One today. One is a businessman special up at CHI Memorial in Chattanooga. Red Wolves are a plus 117 against North Texas. The match that Chris Ashley is interested in is at 6:30 at City Stadium. Richmond, a minus 294.
Yeah, that's about right.
Against OCB, which is close to a plus 600. And your night game at 7 o'clock at Irk Russell Park in Statesboro. Tormenta's a plus 122 against Tucson, who made the trip, at a plus 190. So that's your USL League One juice boxes.
Do you want to explain why you said they made the trip? It's a scheduled game.
Oh, I was just saying that they traveled from Tucson to Statesboro. I didn't know what you were saying. That's why I asked. Just the whole flight from Tucson to Statesboro, and last time I checked, there's no direct flight. So there was.
I thought you were saying it like they had refused in the past to make the trip.
No. Just the fact that it's pack a lunch, pack a dinner, bring your hard hat, couple of changes.
They have food on these planes, John. They're not like
Tucson,
flying the Cleveland.
Just the mere length of the flight from Tucson to Atlanta, unless they're flying directly into Statesboro, Georgia.
Pack a hard hat. What kind of planes is FC Tucson flying, man?
We'll find out.
Jeez.
I mean, This is I think by far their long, unless they played New England Revolution 2.
Well, OCB
probably their longest trip of the year.
OCB?
No, Tucson.
Yeah, Tucson would go to OCB.
That's true. So what's longer? Statesboro, Orlando, or New England, Boston?
I got nothing. Probably Foxborough, but OCB's longer than Tormenta. Abby says, thank you, John, for keeping her laughing, and me too. Because I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Nathan Pugh is afraid of clowns.
I don't blame him. There are people who have that fear. I'm afraid of this disciplinary committee screwing something else up because they probably will before the year's out. I can't bail them out of this one. It's on them.
Why should anyone bail them out?
Well, nobody should because they've screwed up. But there's nothing that I can find to say, well, this would be a way you could argue that you could get out of this or that they might have messed it up because of this. I mean, there's nothing. Like, it's right there. It's on tape. It's a simple, easy thing. There's nothing. I mean, the Figal one's bad enough.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to even question on that one. But, okay, maybe you could say that he was running or whatever and just trying to get his body in front. Fine. This one, there's zero. There's nothing that you can argue that Yamil Assad should not have been sent off. Nothing. And if the ref misses it and the VAR misses it, you got to fix it because that's the committee that you're on. And if you don't, then I can't take any of your other decisions seriously because you blew this one. It's shocking.
Yeah.
Total embarrassment. What else we got on Twitter before we hop into Mike Conti joining us at 10 o'clock?
I believe, sir, we are caught up on the Twitters, and that is accurate. We are caught up.
All righty then. So why don't you tell us about Steve Apolinsky?
I could do that. Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network, wrongful death and serious injury attorneys. If this is a conversation that you need to have, a couple different ways that you can do it with Steve and Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. Shoot Steve an email, steve at aa-legal.com. Give him a call, get a free consultation, 404-377-9191. Or go to the website, aa-legal.com, depending on the size of your device, large or small. Hit enter, hit arrow, hit return. When that happens, the next page that shows up gives you a pop-up window because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up, and you can have that conversation with the individual at the other end of that pop-up window, a live conversation, 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison, for that. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine. Top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia for wrongful death and serious injury matters. It is Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. The website is aa-legal.com.
We've now had a request for a pop-up window scarf. That's dangerous. That might be a T-shirt instead.
Well, so should Action at the Fraction. That should be a T-shirt.
Of course you want to do that. You can get on that anytime you want, since people keep stealing your trademark, I guess.
But no, Kennesaw put in the exclamation point. They said action! Exclamation point at the Fraction for Action Movies. Mm-hmm. When Mike comes on, I have a question for Mike about that. So we'll when Mike comes on, we'll talk about it a little bit.
We're still going to keep driving that one. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Abby got us in trouble with the moderators on the Twitch pitch, which is always funny. But if you are in Gwinnett or up north in Cumming or anybody else in the metro area, you might want to be checking your mailboxes and front porches for your Marcelino Moreno scarves today.
Yes.
If you were further out of the metro area, they hit the post office yesterday. So you could see them today. It might be tomorrow. Because we had some that went to Nevada. We had some that went to Colorado. We had some that went to D.C., South Carolina, Alabama. I think Reno was the furthest trip for
That's
one.
Awesome.
Yeah. So those should be hitting very, 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 very soon. And Ricky Ricardo asks, why are you defending KSU? Because they stole from you.
No, I'm just saying that they were. I wasn't defending them. I'm just saying that they were different. They didn't quite go literally with what we've been doing. They went action! Exclamation point at the Fraction. That's how they were different. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying that's how they were different. That's how they differentiated Action at the Fraction.
Okay. Glenn Crooks tweeted out about Alexander Matrica. He spoke with Ronnie Dyla. This is Crooks' tweet. Ronnie Dyla told me Alexander Matrica's desire plus business would be the deciding factors if the NYCFC designated player is loaned to Al Ahly FC. Saudi Arabia would put Matrica 3,000 air miles closer to his pregnant wife, which is something I did not know. Dyla quoted as saying, of course, if you're not happy where you are, it's hard to perform. So that does factor into it, which makes a little more sense here. All right, let's see if the virtual producer, who is it today? Butch. Let's see if Butch can get the job done. Mike Conti, add to call.
Come on, Butch.
Let's see if Butch can do it. John went blurry face, and he was not cursing anybody out.
Rat farts.
Butch.
Hey!
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Not much. John's still trying to figure out how he can copyright action at the Fraction.
Well, has it become a dispute now? Because the phrase has been used commercially?
I guess.
Well, we're going back to the whole Kennesaw State thing where they used the exclamation point.
Yeah, but that doesn't change it, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if Steve Apolinsky has, like, any copyright law experience or anything like that where he might be able to shed some light on it. But I would imagine that shouldn't matter, should it?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. So then if you could, for the Teespring site, for our site for the gear, if you could design the T-shirt, how would you design the T-shirt?
I would have a big, elaborate grill or smoker and a lot of seasonings. And, I'd have a spice rack, maybe a 2-row spice rack, and the spice bottles could spell out action at the Fraction. And the exclamation point could be cayenne pepper or something like that. That's what I would do.
I like it.
Hey, strong. So can we start with a reflection on the MLS disciplinary committee for a moment, please?
I nearly made my throat sore.
I mean, this was one of those
in
moments the first hour of the show, Mike, where the hood on the NASCAR car pops up, the hood blows off. There's oil all over the track. Yeah. I mean, it was one of those moments in the first hour of the show.
You take it, Mike. I'm gonna refill my mate. You go ahead.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like Jason, and I love Jason, but really, I mean, I don't know why you should be that upset because, the disciplinary committee, you've got to give them credit for, taking decisive action on a lot of nuances of the game that might not be perceptible to fans and media and even players. Like when a player gets sent off and they take too long to leave the pitch, you got to really give a round of applause to the disciplinary committee. They are on it. They're on it. When you have an iffy incident of simulation here or there, like you got to really hand it to the disciplinary committee. Nothing slips by these guys. They're on it. They are absolutely on it. They're going to fine a guy who doesn't make a whole lot of money to send a statement that we can't tolerate stuff like that. They're on. Now, things that put player safety in jeopardy, things that could cause serious injury to players, is that really as important as a guy who takes a long time walking off the pitch after a send-off? Is it really as important as someone who rips a shirt off during a celebration? Or is it as important as someone who may have been, ticked in the penalty area and falls down a little too easily? No, of course not. I mean, we aren't worried about forcible contact to the head and neck area of players, are we? We aren't worried about horror tackles that could have absolutely broken the leg of Brooks Lennon from behind with the ball nowhere even close to him in a scissoring motion. We don't have to worry about that because those are obvious things. When it comes to the little things that protect the integrity of the game, like a player that, again, kind of loafs a little bit after a red card, the disciplinary committee is on it, and I think we should salute them for that because it just goes to show you that they are very, very concerned about these little things that can undermine the integrity of the game. So hats off, disciplinary committee. You've done an awesome job. Sure.
Excellent!
Hashtag sarcasm font.
I just guys, I am so bothered by this. We're
all fired up.
It's a breakdown on two levels. All right. Now, Joseph Dickerson, the center ref, I don't know if you remember the last time Atlanta United had him. It was in March of 2019 in Columbus in that god-awful rainstorm. Atlanta United lost 2-0. And, Jason, you were there with me. We were on the stage in Columbus. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were there not numerous substitutions in the second half of that game?
Yes, there were.
Was there not a penalty in the second half of that game?
Yes.
Was there not a stoppage where Dickerson turned to Brad Guzan and said, I'm going to stop it, and then was summoned into the technical area by Caleb Porter, and Caleb Porter spent a minute or two lobbying for the match to continue? Am I remembering that correct?
I know that happened. I don't remember if that happened in the midst of the second half. That part I don't remember. Okay.
It did. It happened around the 60th
Okay.
minute. Okay. So you had all those incidents happen, and yet somehow no added time was played in that match.
Yeah, he took off fast, too. He sprinted to get off the field.
Well, we all did. It was.
Well, we had another hour to go with a post-game show, unfortunately.
But if we could have sprinted, we would. That was an awful
That's
night.
True.
All right. So here's a guy who has shown in his refereeing history that he is awfully eager to get out of there once the game is over. And I would hate to think that the fact that you were deep into stoppage time may have played a role in accelerating the officiating mechanics where there was not time for a VAR check of that tackle, that horror tackle by Yamil Assad. Because this is breakdown number one. That play has absolutely got to be checked thoroughly by the VAR. It's got to be checked thoroughly. That is the definition of a clear and obvious error by the referee to not give a red on that. Mm-hmm. The definition. Mm-hmm. Look, and a lot of people are comparing this to Figal and what happened with Gallagher down in Miami a couple weeks ago. If you squint really, really hard at that play with Figal and Gallagher, and I'm sure this was the argument that Miami made, if you look really, really hard, you can twist and bend and kind of, sort of, try to argue. I don't agree with the argument, but you could try to argue that Figal was maybe making a play on the ball. I don't think he was. But if you're making a play on the ball, then the law about, striking an opposing player in the head or neck, it changes if you're making a play on the ball. All right. I don't think he was, but if you look really hard, you might be able to make that argument. There is nothing in that play involving Yamil Assad that says that's anything less than a red. There's nothing that makes that anything less than a red. So it's got to be looked at. And look, if the VAR concurs with the center ref and decides not to send it down on the monitor, fine. But you've got to take sufficient amount of time to look at it. And I think one thing we can all agree on, because of how quickly the free kick was taken, is that there was not a lot of time given to looking at that. And I hope it's not because we were in the fifth added minute. So that's breakdown number one. Breakdown number two, then, is how does the disciplinary committee look at that and not retroactively give a red? And I know some people will say, well, no, you can only do that if it's a multi-game suspension. That is not correct.
They changed that.
Franco Escobar was given a retroactive red and a one-game suspension for that tackle he had in the Nashville match back in August. So I just don't understand how this broke down twice. I don't understand how that broke down twice. And Darren Eales was on the radio talking about it yesterday. He was very upset about it. I'm upset about it. I know you guys are too, because this is a player safety issue.
Bang.
Okay, we're not talking about someone screwing around after a red card and yelling at the ref and yelling at the fourth and not getting off in a timely manner. We're talking about something that could have caused serious bodily harm to a player. And by the way, when these teams meet again now on October 24th, as far as I'm concerned, it's open season on Yamil Assad. If this is the way that you're going to legislate tackles like that, I think now you've put Yamil Assad at risk for retaliation. And I don't, this isn't ice hockey. I don't think.
I was going to say, this is like Red Wings and Avalanche.
It kind of is. It kind of is. If you don't take a stand on player safety and address this, it's going to create a climate of retaliation and retribution, and someone's going to get hurt. And poor Brooks Lennon, who probably still has cleat marks in the back of his neck for something that Pro admitted they made a mistake on.
Yeah.
Now he's the victim of a scissoring, way late, ball nowhere even close, premeditated, lunging horror tackle. Brooks is lucky he didn't break his ankle and is out for the year.
Yeah.
And shame on Yamil Assad, by the way. Just shame on him. I know he's very popular and beloved by people who have wistful memories of 2017, and I get it. That was horrific. And I know, Yamil posts pictures on Instagram with him and his golden spikes on his, credenza in the living room, and everyone loves him for that. But he put one of our players at risk and disrespected the game by doing so.
Wasn't an
there was
accident
nothing
that
accidental
it was
about it.
No, it wasn't an accident that it was the player who would lit you up all night either. That's the part that I have a problem with. Is it wasn't somebody who would come on as a sub and just the closest guy. It was the player who had a goal and 2 assists against you.
Yeah, I think this is incredibly dangerous, an incredibly dangerous precedent. I'm not saying fine Yamil $100,000 and suspend him for 5 games. I'm not saying that.
Suspend him for 2 games and fine him.
Yeah,
it's a red. It's a red. It's a game.
At a minimum, at a minimum.
I just don't know how anyone can objectively look at that. Even DC fans have said that's a clear red. I don't know how anyone can objectively look at that play and come up with any kind of conclusion. And if it's the same committee, if it's the same people on the committee, and to my knowledge, they don't change this out during the course of the year. If it's the same people who looked at Franco Escobar's tackle on Dominique Baji and said, which, by the way, he wasn't even booked for. And they look at that and say, oh, yeah, that's a clear and obvious red in the game. If the same people applied that standard to what Yamil did to Brooks Lennon, how do you come out with this outcome?
Yeah.
And I almost wish we could appoint pool reporters now to ask the disciplinary committee, what were you looking at when you made this decision? Because maybe there is something. Look, this has happened before. I'll point to an incident we had at Yankee Stadium a couple of years ago where they ruled a goal out on VAR for Atlanta United. The mythical AVAR was not communicating with the announcers on what they were looking at. And Jason and I were convinced that there was a misapplication of the rule and Atlanta United got screwed. And then we got down to the bus afterwards and Darren explained perfectly, no, wait. New York City, they play corners a little bit different. They don't have a second player on the post. So when the ball came out, it creates an offside situation. No, we didn't know that. And that is an example of something that we did not see in the heat of the moment. We got that one wrong. So
there's nothing on this one. Nah, there's nothing on this one. I'm not giving them that out. Not giving them that out.
But then stand by your decision.
Yeah.
Stand by. Don't make this an anonymous group that can just dictate decisions without explaining them and without standing by their decision. If they're convinced that was the right call, that they have every right to believe that. But then you've got to stand by your position and back that up. And that's what I have a big problem with.
And I mean, you've leaned toward creating almost open season on players.
Yes.
Let's slow down on that because no, it's not open season on players because this is a very specific instance. The elbow to the head is more of an open season issue. The forearm to the head, because that is you're allowing people to swing their arms at people's heads, and that was something the league said they weren't going to have. This is nothing like that. This is cynical. This is Yamil Assad, angry because his team's getting whooped, angry probably because it's the team that he used to play for that's doing the whooping, and angry that the player who is doing the primary part of the whooping is the one right in front of him, and he goes in and just cleans him out and tries to hurt him because there's no other way you're going in for that tackle. That's not an open season situation. That's a very specific situation.
Well, no, but I think what John is talking about, and I agree with him now, is in further matches, if that line has been set by the disciplinary committee, that you can have a horror tackle like Yamil and not run the risk of a suspension. Or if you can swing your elbow, line up someone's head and swing your elbow or forearm at his head without any fear of even a booking, let alone a suspension.
You now have previous evidence available. So this happened and it didn't get.
The Figal one, I'm totally with you guys. The Yamil one is different because that doesn't come up in every game. That's not something that's as common. The Figal one absolutely is, and it's something the league has said they wanted to crack down on. was players potentially being hit in the head with hands and arms and forearms and elbows. And that one, that was my issue with it.
No, I get it. I think the three of us are agreeing, but maybe not using the same terminology. Let me put it to you a different way. When you don't hold players accountable for what Yamil did, then I'm not saying it incentivizes, but it reduces that little voice in the back of your head, where if you're down 4-0 in added time and you've been getting, megged by a guy all night, that little Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder is going to go away when in the back of your head you know that you can scissor the guy down late and from behind, and the last guy to do it was not suspended for it. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
I'll tell you what it's going to do, and this is the part that I don't like, and this is where the disciplinary committee will have their fun because they've made this point. What it will do is next time it happens, the team that had it happen to them, the players around Brooks Lennon, will get in Yamil Assad's face and probably knock him over and have a mass confrontation.
Yeah,
because
we can't have that. Because mass confrontation.
That's exactly
it. Disciplinary committee's jam.
That's the problem. Is that it's going to mean that teams are going to have to defend themselves in a situation, and that's where you're going to get more issues. If the disciplinary committee handled it better, then you wouldn't have that.
And let me be clear. I know I was sarcastic about the act they took against, I think it was a Vancouver player who was sent off and took a long time coming off. And, there have been some other kind of trifling things that the disciplinary committee have been involved in this year. I do want to be clear. Mass confrontations in 2020 in the age of COVID do need to be dealt with swiftly and forcefully. So I do want to be clear on that. I have no objection. They spent a lot of time on that Galaxy San Jose mass confrontation. I'm fine with that. The players have been told you can't do that, especially this year because of the COVID risks in play. So I don't mind them being forceful on that. I just want to be crystal clear on that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but I want to include one more point on this because it gets back to the referee situation. If the referees handle it better on the field, you don't have those.
Yeah.
And that's the number one element. Yeah, yes, they need to be punished after the fact, but referees, because look at the Bundesliga, because they talked about this in a very serious way before they came back about mass confrontation. Referees were told to handle things differently. They have. Here, when you don't red card Yamil Assad, when you allow what happened with Figal, when you allow what happened in the San Jose LA game and you're not forceful in getting it under control, you're going to have mass confrontation because the referees aren't controlling the game. While the players need to be punished by the disciplinary committee, the referees need to be punished for not controlling these matches.
Yeah, and that's another element to all of this, too. And Darren kind of hinted at it yesterday on the radio. Is we still have not heard the outcome of the illegal substitution investigation. And the more and more I hear about it, the more and more it sounds like the fourth official, obviously it's DC's screw-up, but the fourth official, as Darren said, you only have one job. You really only have one job. And look, I think you made the point Saturday, and it was a correct one, that, a fourth official in a Major League Soccer match cannot realistically expect that a Major League Soccer team is going to try to insert a player who wasn't in the team sheet. That is an unusual situation, but it's your job as the fourth official to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yep.
And that's another thing. We have not heard, and this is where Pro, who has been transparent before, maybe not swiftly, but they've been transparent before, and Howard Webb has made himself available before to explain things like this. When this investigation is over, we need to know how it was handled and what the outcome was. I'm sure there's going to be a very heavy fine for DC, but that fourth official's got to be held accountable for that mistake. And look, refs are human and they make mistakes. I get that. And I'll be the first one. I mean, anyone who listens to one of my broadcasts could probably talk about how I'm human and I make mistakes, numerous ones, every broadcast. And I hate being held accountable for it because I don't like being wrong, but it happens. You're going to have to hold, the fourth official's name is Matt Franz. You're going to have to hold him accountable, And by the way, maybe assign him to a match other than one involving DC United.
There's that.
I mean, a lot of people don't know that. The last 4, at least, MLS matches in which he's been the 4th official have all been DC United matches.
I think it was
all
6,
4.
if I'm not mistaken. I think it even went further
at least
back.
4 that I know of.
Yeah.
I didn't go back further than the 4. And look, I know travel's weird right now, and there are other things that go into play, but these were DC home and road matches. That can't happen. That can't happen. There is a reason why you try to rotate these officiating crews as much as you possibly can, because you do develop a level of familiarity with these teams, good and bad. Mm-hmm. That's on pro. That's on their scheduling. That cannot happen. Especially, let's say this guy is local to D.C. You're a train ride away from Philly. You're a train ride away from the New York teams. You're a train ride away from New England. You're not that far from Columbus. It's not like you're in Salt Lake City, and you got to fly 3 hours to get anywhere. So it's just stuff that can happen. Little things that cannot happen.
There's a game tonight.
Yeah, against Orlando, too. So here's what I think about this one, guys. I mean, Orlando's got 7 really key players out. Now, Dom Dwyer hasn't played for a while. Tesho hasn't played for a while. It's not like, these guys are suddenly out. To me, I know this sounds really silly talking about a goalkeeper, but I think Pedro Gillespie has been vitally important for Orlando this year. And I think one thing that's really stood out to me watching these 2 Atlanta United against Orlando City matches this year is, Orlando does not have a Joe Bendick keeping goal anymore who's going to make a mistake and get rattled. Gillespie was very, very important to them in this run that they've had. 9 straight matches unbeaten. They have very competent goalkeeping with good distribution that often can spring counters. Now you got to go to Brian Rowe, who's not inexperienced. He was their full-time goalkeeper last year and was pretty good against Atlanta United last year. I think that's a big, big loss just as far as organizing the back is concerned. So you got a real opportunity tonight, I think, if you're Atlanta United. You're coming in hot. You've won 2 of your last 3. I think, again, as we said last week, unlucky a little bit that they didn't get a result in Chicago. You're coming in hot. You should be feeling pretty confident. Marcelino Moreno's probably going to play on Saturday. So for some players, this could be a really, really important kind of final opportunity to stake your claim for playing time if Moreno's going to come in and take a spot. I think Atlanta United's going to play really, really well tonight. And I think they've got a great opportunity against an Orlando team that's shorthanded and might be a little bit tired too, just because they played Saturday and they have game day travel today. Really, really curious to see how this plays out because Orlando's got incredible quality. And unfortunately, even with all these guys out, DK is still playing. Mueller is still playing. So they've got plenty of quality and plenty of threat. But I think there's a real opportunity here for Atlanta United to keep this positive momentum going tonight. I really do.
I'll give you a couple of numbers to keep an eye on tonight when you dig into this matchup. The last 3 matches, Atlanta's won 2 of their last 3. Orlando hasn't lost in their last 3. Atlanta has created more shot-creating actions, more chances than Orlando has in their last 3. They've been more aggressive with their pressure in their last 3 matches than Orlando. And when you look at what they've conceded, Orlando shot-creating actions conceded in their last 3 matches, 21, 20, and 17. Atlanta, 9 against Dallas, 7 against D.C., who's awful, and 24 against Chicago. But you look at the chances they've created, Orlando is giving teams around 10 chances a game. Atlanta's creating around 10 chances a game in their last 3. Orlando's defense is giving teams opportunities. Now, they haven't been punished as much by it, but Atlanta will have chances tonight.
Yeah, I agree. You just got to keep playing fast. It's something that Emerson Hyndman talked about. I mean, they've taken some really positive strides in the pace in which they're playing. And I think Hyndman has a big role in that. But here again tonight, you're going to have opportunity. It's kind of like against DC. I think you're going to have opportunities going down the left and right channels. I would love to get Jurgen Damm into this match tonight. The problem is, I don't want to take Brooks Lennon off the right wing right now either. Because,
no way.
I mean, he played unbelievably on Saturday. So that's a dilemma now for Glassy. You want to try to bombard with as much speed as you can. Damm is your fastest player, but I think Lennon right now is your best player.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good problem to have. It's a little bit of a dilemma, but like Glassy said, he's going to pick the best 11 that he thinks will win him the match tonight. But man, if you could get Damm with fresh legs as a sub around the 60th minute, especially if you need to find a goal, I would really, really like that.
Just go full-blown NASCAR?
You could, yeah. Look, Orlando's got pace, too. They've got Huan. This is going to be a fun match tonight, guys. It's not going to be cagey and tactical. It's going to be wide open. It's going to be end-to-end. I think it has the potential to be high-scoring. I wish our fans could be there because I think this is one of those matches that would be very entertaining to attend in person. I mean, fortunately, we're lucky enough that we get to be there. And then on top of it, you've got maybe Orlando still in the back of their head a little bit ticked off about the way things ended the Saturday before Labor Day. Atlanta United got that goal from John, not against the run of play, but Orlando thought they were seconds away from finally beating Atlanta at home, and not so much. And then Adam John shushes the crowd. So that might come into it, too. I mean, these teams do not like each other. They both developed other rivals, but they're still rivals. So many ingredients in the soup tonight. This isn't going to be chicken noodle. This is going to be like a full-fledged bouillabaisse or
it's a good roux.
Yeah, or like a gumbo or something like that. There's a lot in the soup tonight, and I think it's going to be very tasty.
What's our broadcast plans the rest of the day, Mike? We got a lot to do.
Yeah, we do. Stoppage time is going to be at 12 noon on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page. Again, we're trying to stay away from the Braves, so that's why we're doing it at noon today. And then we will have Five Strikes Countdown 6:30, kickoff 7 o'clock. And the game and the full-time report will also be on Sirius XM channel 157 tonight because the Sounders, who are on after us, don't come on until 10 o'clock. So be fun if we wanted. We could do some of the full-time report craziness on satellite radio.
Oh, they're not even going to know what hit them.
Yeah. We'll have radio.com as well tonight, as well as we always do.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Talk to you in about an hour and a half again.
Okie doke. Sounds good, guys. See ya.
Be good.
Bye.
All right. Mike Conti 929 on Twitter. Make sure you're following him. Let's get Doug Robertson on the line right now and get the AJC perspective for tonight. Butch is working on it here.
Come on, Butch.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Encouraging. It's like you're wanting to push everything forward.
Hello.
What's up, Doug? How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing good. Getting ready for a busy upcoming schedule and a lot of games coming fast and furious in Atlanta and Orlando tonight. What are your takeaways from D.C. and the win against an awful D.C. United team from the weekend?
Atlanta United played better. They looked more focused. They looked more aggressive. You have to put the caveat on it, though, that DC is just god-awful and didn't really seem to have a plan for attack. Didn't really show a whole lot of positive life in the game. There was some negative life with a red card against Brouillon and a horrible tackle by Assad that MLS, for some reason, didn't punish. But the good takeaways are John Gallagher looked great. Brooks Lennon looked great. The defense, made some hard, aggressive tackles, which may have also affected DC United. And they got 3 points, and that's the most important thing for the team.
Doug, what's it been like from your perspective to see Jeff Larentowicz over the last handful of matches be that stabilizer at the back for Atlanta United?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't understand why he hasn't been starting. Frank DeBoer just, for some reason, did not want to start him. in Orlando, and then would bemoan the fact that he couldn't make in-game adjustments because he needed someone, and this was his quote, like Jeff, in the lineup. But he's the one that decided not to start Jeff. So typically when you see Jeff in the lineup, you're going to get a defensively organized team. He's not going to roam. And when he and Mo Adams, for example, are paired together, or Remedi are paired together, it gives Hyndman the ability to do what he does best, which is to get forward and kind of probe the defense and link quick, short passes together, which he's done a great job of the past 3 games.
Yeah, I think Larinowitz has been key to the last few matches, just looking better and more organized for Atlanta. When you look at Orlando, they are going to be missing some pieces tonight due to injury and to international duty. Who concerns you the most from Orlando's side?
Still the same two, Mueller and Nani. I don't think either one of them have been ruled out.
Not yet.
But I haven't looked this morning at the injury report. Yeah. Those two guys have given Atlanta United fits in the 2 meetings this season. I think they combined for, a couple of goals in the first game and an assist. And then DK got an assist or got a goal in the second game. If you want to beat Atlanta, or if you want to beat Orlando, you've got to figure out a way to neutralize those two guys.
Well, and Doug, you mentioned DK, so I'll go ahead and go down that rabbit hole as well. When you have someone that is that physical of a presence that can bring that element of a game to Orlando, the challenges for the back line going up against someone like DK will be interesting tonight.
Yeah, no, he's a specimen. He's going to be a handful for whomever starts at center back. I got to think it's probably going to be Robinson and Walks. I think I put Meza in the lineup, but the more I think about it, it's probably going to be Robinson and Walks. He might be better suited to deal with a big, strong guy like DK than Meza, who's a little bit smaller than both the other center backs. It's too bad that George Campbell doesn't have the experience yet, because he would be a perfect matchup for DK, I think. So his hold-up play is so good. So if you let him win those 50-50 balls or win those long balls, you then got to deal with he's such a good passer once he gets the ball. You got to deal with that too. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because when he starts to win the aerial duels and just the long ball duels whenever Orlando wants to skip the lines and play direct out of the back, that's where somebody like Jeff Larinowitz becomes key in winning the second ball, because you're going to have to immediately get organized, or you can start to get picked apart a little bit. Now, Pereira won't be there tonight. He's out injured, looked like a hamstring in the Red Bulls match on the weekend. Junior Urso was a player who kind of filled that gap a little bit last time Orlando was at the Benz, and he had a big night. He's been really dangerous in that midfield coming forward, and he feels like he could be one of the wild cards for this Orlando team that is deep, it is talented. It's been a really good overhaul by this front office, and bringing in Oscar Pareja was kind of the cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah, he's one who scored a goal in that first game against Atlanta United, a great goal, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, this team, and you look at some of the pieces that they've gotten rid of who are playing well for their new teams. And the front office really seems like it's either gotten really lucky, or it's kind of figured out this is what we need to do, and this is the coach we need to do it with in Major League Soccer. So, again, I'm happy for Orlando supporters who think that I hate them, but I don't hate them. I just don't like the language, and there's a gigantic difference between those two things. But I'm happy for them, because they've stuck through this for the past 5 years, and they're finally getting some success, and it's a fun thing to watch.
Speaking of fun things to watch, recently you've got a guy like John Gallagher, who has continued to show out. You've got Brooks Lennon, who is really basically a cyborg out there and doesn't want to come off the pitch, and you're seeing what he was able to do, a goal and 2 assists last time out. And then Adam John, another guy who is, he has the skill set that we know he has, and he's taking advantage of it. I think you're seeing more of that. What's it been like for you to see those 3 guys over the last handful of matches?
It's been slightly validating, because I thought that Adam John could play well for this team, and I got tired of seeing everyone bang on him at the beginning of the year, because they didn't seem to be keeping in mind that he was getting absolutely no service. And now he's starting to get some service, and you're starting to see how effective he can be. His first touch is always a little bit heavy, but for some reason he always seems to keep the ball and is able to make a pass to a Hindman or whomever's around him. Lennon is playing better. I think that's coming with the minutes and coming with the fact that he and Adam are starting to develop a chemistry. So these crosses that he's been putting in are now reaching someone, which they sometimes weren't before. Gallagher is a fast guy. He gets fouled, but he stays on his feet a lot of the times, which is something that Barco has some trouble doing. And right now, some people won't want to hear this, but Gallagher is playing better than Barco has post the first break. So the first two games, Barco was fantastic. Beyond that, I think Gallagher has played better than Barco when he was on the pitch, and I think the team is playing better than when Barco was on the pitch. Obviously, Barco's a talented soccer player, but right now it's working much better with him off than on.
I don't think Barco was the problem with the team, though, Doug.
No, I don't think he was the problem, but I think it's playing better.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a straight line. That's the thing here is you're doing a lot of other things that are very different, too, that are not related to Barco or Gallagher in terms of the pressure, in terms of being more aggressive defensively, things like that. I just don't know if it's a straight line thing there.
Okay.
That's all. We'll see if Barco's on the pitch tonight because who knows? We know Josetu's out. We know Dom came off the bench. Don't know where he is in terms of how many minutes he can give you. I don't know where he fits with the way Brooks Lennon, Franco Escobar are playing on that right side. You have posted your guess at the lineup tonight. I don't want you to give it away because I want people to go to ajc.com, but you've posted
click
that.
On it.
Yeah, I did post it. Mostly the same as the other day. I think the only two changes where I had, I think, Remedi in for Mo Adams, Fernando Meza in for Walks, and I think that was it. I think the rest of it was the same as the previous game.
Yeah, both are realistic. I think the thing that we don't know, and this is the hardest right now, and Orlando's probably going to have some changes too for reasons that we won't know. It's just down to fresh legs and how much do they have in the tank because they're going to go again on the weekend. And it's tough for these teams right now. You're going to see a lot of weird results tonight. When you look around the Eastern Conference and Atlanta's kind of in that gaggle towards the bottom of the playoff race, who worries you that right now is outside of the playoff race that could come in and jump in and grab a spot?
So with last night's result, Nashville moved ahead of Atlanta United, right? So it's Nashville, Atlanta United, Montreal, Cincinnati, or Montreal, Chicago. Is that right?
Technically, it's Atlanta ahead of Nashville, even though Nashville has a game in hand. So, I mean, you could see that changing very easily. Goal differential wins. Wins has Atlanta and Montreal ahead of Nashville because they've got 5. Nashville's got 4. And then Atlanta's ahead of Montreal on goal differential to be 8th. But they're all on 17 points.
Okay, the team that probably scares me most is Chicago.
1 point back.
Yep.
Especially at home. I think they have a fantastic midfield and front 2 or 3, depending upon what formation they're playing. And in spurts, I've really liked watching them play this season. Their issue is they've got to get their defense kind of sorted out, or they'll just try to outscore you. But they're playing well. Montreal just.
That was going to be my point. Yeah.
I want to like them, but I just can never. I can never like them while watching them. It's just I don't quite understand what it is they're trying to do, specifically with the talent they have, because they have some very talented players. Nashville just keeps grinding out results over and over again, like last night. But Chicago, to me, is the biggest worry for Atlanta United.
Okay, I got to correct something because Major League Soccer's website that has the stats on it is wrong, which is always good. Nashville is ahead on 18 points. My bad. Their live standings were definitely not live. So they're on 18. Atlanta and Montreal are on 17. And they didn't have the game from last night in there. Good job, MLS website. Thank you for messing me up there.
Well, but I think to Doug's point, I think as much as Chicago, who is still south of the playoff bar right now, would be the team outside that you could put inside. I think that Montreal, Doug, would be the team that I could just as easily see flipped with Chicago. Chicago would be in and Montreal would be out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, I think Cincinnati is like, what are they, 2 points behind Chicago or
3?
Something like
If
3.
If the website's correct, it's 3.
Yeah.
I just don't see them getting back into it. So I think it's going to be 12 or 11 teams for 10 spots, I think is what the final race is going to be. But, of course, Atlanta United could revert to its previous form and drop a couple, which would open the door again for a team like Cincinnati. But I don't think that's going to happen.
What about Miami? What do you think about them? 6 points behind Atlanta right now.
Yeah, I just don't see that. I don't see it happening. They're without Pizarro for the next 3 games, I think. Right?
Well, Robles.
Well, he's and Robles. Well, yeah,
I know.
Robles is formerly a very good player, but has had some issues this season.
He has.
So I don't think that's going to be a drop off. But losing Pizarro, I think, could be will be a huge drop off for a team. Higuain isn't Pizarro. Somebody's got to get Higuain the ball, and that was Pizarro's job. So I don't know who's going to do that now, unless it's one of those young Argentines who've still yet to really be impactful this season. So yeah, I don't see Miami crawling back into it either.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see Miami getting there with Pizarro out for as long as he's going to be out. Let's get into predictions for tonight. So Atlanta, Orlando, just after 7 o'clock kickoff. John, what did you have last night on the run-up?
I had a 1-1 draw since Kelly Francis took my Velvet Driving Slipper Lock of the Week.
So you would have went 2-1 Atlanta, but you chose not to.
If I had gone first, I would have gone 2-1, but I didn't want to be a copycat, so I went with a 1-1 draw.
So you went with something that you don't believe in, is what you're telling us.
Because I'd like to see a 2-1 win.
You can say a 2-1 win if you think it's going to be a 2-1 win. I'm asking you what you think it's going to be.
It's going to be a 1-1 draw, because that's what I said last night.
My head hurts. Doug, why don't you try to fix this? What are you thinking tonight?
Well, who's going to win Mexico-Netherlands?
It's a good question.
Is the question I have for y'all.
It's a friendly, so it's a little hard to call. I'm going to go 1-1 draw on that one, actually.
Yeah.
I think both are going to be kind of trying to figure some things out and trying some things. So I'll be curious to see Pizarro and where he fits for Tata's team, because he's kind of been a bit of an enigma for Mexico for a long time, pre-Tata. I don't know if he gets into the group today or not. I think Mexico is trying to figure things out a little bit with some young players breaking through, and I think the Dutch are going to be getting used to Frank coming in, and how much does he change from what Ronald Koeman had that was going well. I think they cancel each other out 1-1.
All right. So my pick for Atlanta United, Orlando, is also a 1-1 draw.
Wow.
And I think that's a good point for Atlanta United.
Yeah.
Because Orlando is a very, very good team this year. And that would still be a confidence-boosting point for the Five Stripes to set up Saturday's gigantic game, which, depending upon what Red Bulls do tonight, could be a very, very important game for Atlanta United.
Yeah, it could be a massive one. I'm with draw as well on this, but I got 2-2. I think both teams have been creating a good number of chances lately. Atlanta's actually been creating more in their last 3 than Orlando has. Orlando's been giving up a lot of chances lately and hasn't been punished a whole lot. Atlanta and the DC game you can mix in, where they only gave up 2 chances to DC. They were bad. But they only gave up 5 chances to Dallas, and that was a really good ones. Chicago, they fell behind early. You had the problem. If they don't concede early and Atlanta can battle toe-to-toe with Orlando, I think they can do it. I think 2-2. I think it'll be a pretty wild match with both teams very aggressive here and both teams coming in better form than the last time we saw them at the Benz anyway. I'll go with goal scorers. I'll go with Gallagher getting another one, and I'll go with it seems like he keeps scoring goals this year. Jeff Lorenowitz. I think he'll get one on a set piece.
There you go.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, he's got 2. He's been one of the leading scorers in some crazy way. What else do you have coming out the rest of the day over at the AJC, Doug?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but on the Southern Fried Soccer podcast,
Vaguely remember
following
that.
the Chicago game, I threw out that if you're in Atlanta United Sporter and you're in Carrollton, hit me up and I'll buy you lunch. And 2 people have taken me up on that. So I'm buying 2 people lunch today.
Nice.
Jurgen and I are kind of hanging out on the square right now, talking to y'all, and then we're going to walk down to the Brown Dog Cafe. And
Irony, yes.
These 2 folks to lunch.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go play some golf for a little bit, and then I'm going to cover tonight's game.
Good stuff. Southern Fried Soccer after the match, and I'm sure you'll have all your usual content this evening on AJC.com.
Yep. I hope everyone can click on it and subscribe to the paper because it helps everybody out.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. Talk to you tonight. We'll touch base, but probably 10:30-ish would be a safe bet.
Sure. Yep.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming on, Doug. We appreciate it. Enjoy lunch.
All right, guys. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Doug Robertson, AJC on Twitter, Atlanta United News Now on Facebook, and maybe I should tell Doug to buy me lunch sometime in Carrollton.
There you go.
That'd be nice.
Nick is saying a 2-2 hard-fought draw as well.
Okay, we will see how that goes. I'm a little afraid that I have the same pick as Nick. Now I'm really worried about life in general. What else do we have on the Twitters?
Let's see what we have on the Twitters here. Turner Kirby wants to know, is there any update about the cases with the Rapids and how those games could be rescheduled?
Update on cases, they're playing tonight, so at least they're to that point. Rescheduled, I think one has been rescheduled for the Wednesday before decision day. I don't know about the other one. Let me look and see if schedule is updated here at MLSsoccer.com, although I don't know if I should believe them because of their standings page. Well, this is the thing. I'm going to explain this, so I'm not losing my mind.
I fell into the same thing that you were, because I was looking at one thing, and then I clicked on it, something entirely different that gave me a different one, and it was the one that was updated.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what happened. So I go to MLSsoccer.com, the league's website. Why should I be surprised? Because the disciplinary committee can't get anything done, so why should I be surprised that their website can't get anything done? I click on standings, and it defaults to the live standings, which you would think would be accurate. Standings update every 30 seconds to show a team's points based on the current score of the match. The live standings have Atlanta on 17, Montreal on 17, Nashville on 17. The live standings. I don't normally question the league's website for their live standings. Then you're like, well, wait a minute. Let's look at the conference standings, which were last updated at 10:45 this morning. That's what it tells me. And Nashville's got 18 points, and they played another game. You didn't have it in the live standings that the link defaulted to.
Yeah.
But you corrected elsewhere. Good job. Good job, people. Good job. Maybe the disciplinary committee took over the website. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jeez. Schedule. I know Colorado moved one of the games into that window, but I can't remember which one that had been postponed was moved in there. And after that, I don't know what else they can do. That's the problem, is if their schedule would load, because, again, MLSsoccer.com, why is this difficult, guys? Spinning red circle of death. Good job. Good job. Let's try another way that should actually be correct. That's really annoying. Really, really annoying. Okay. Google tells us. They play tonight. They play Saturday the 10th. They play Wednesday the 14th. They play Sunday the 18th. They play Wednesday the 21st. They play on the 24th. They play on the 28th. They play on the 1st. They play on the 4th. They play on the 8th. There's no more windows.
Yeah.
Like, they've got a game to make up, and there's no more windows. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to have to do something like a Sunday, move one of these midweek games from a Wednesday to a Thursday and squeeze in a Tuesday game somewhere. I don't know, and it depends on the opposition because I can't remember which other one was postponed. Portland is the game that's on November 4th. That'll be the only MLS match that date because they were trying to give teams a full week between the next to last game and decision day. Yeah. So that's where we're at. I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I honestly don't. I think the only thing they can do is if they can make it work with the opposition is to move a Tuesday game, a Thursday game, and a Sunday game. So play the Saturday before, play Tuesday, play Thursday, and then play the following Sunday. That's the only way I can see it working. I don't know how else they do it. Or they just don't do it, and those teams are judged by points per game. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Juice boxes for Netherlands, Mexico. Netherlands is a minus 132. Mexico is a plus 342, and your draw is a plus 285, by the way.
I'll take that draw. I like that draw option. Twitch pitch. Katie Weaver is giving a quick check-in to let us know that the Soccer Down Here delivery network is amazing. Scarf in hand. And that would be on Abby. Abby's awesome.
Yes.
Delivering scarves all over the place. I had to tell her she could not drive to South Carolina to deliver a scarf to Chris Ashley. I said, no, that's too far. No, she really didn't want to go to South Carolina. But she wanted to go everywhere else in the state almost.
Yeah, Abby was like, okay, well, what about this one? I'll do this one. I'll do this one. And she just kept adding to her delivery route. And that was absolutely amazing.
I was trying to make it easy. But it's all good. Abby's been a huge help. That's allowed us to donate a little bit more because it's kept our shipping costs down. So we are waiting to sell the last scarves. They're $25 a piece. Send us a message. You want to get on that to get one. He should be making his debut. He will be getting one, I think, tomorrow, maybe Friday, depending on how things go with the training ground. But he'll be getting his. He'll hear about what we're doing and what you guys have done to donate money to the school bearing his name. So that'll be a really cool way to welcome him if he plays on Saturday. Just because, it's not going to be a normal situation where there can be banners, there can be songs sung, all those kinds of things. This is the best we can do, and hopefully he feels the warmth of the Atlanta fans towards him.
Yeah. Nathan Pugh questioning Mike's characterization of the match tonight. He goes, soup, Mike? I was thinking tonight will be more of a Brunswick stew.
Could be a Brunswick stew. I don't want to hear anything from you about Brunswick stew because just like you're trying to twist everything else, you will try to twist that one into something that it's not.
Oh, I was just wondering if you were just going to go ahead and give me the rim shot or the David Caruso CSI Miami sounder.
Nope, not going to do it because it wasn't good to begin with. Nope.
So we found out this morning that Nathan is scared of clowns and that he thinks tonight's going to be a Brunswick stew.
It could be a Brunswick stew. It could be a spicy Brunswick stew. It could have a little bit of that extra Tabasco in the Brunswick stew. I think it will be a combative kind of match. I'm looking forward to it. Burned is saying take Mexico. The Dutch are playing backups. I don't know if Mexico's necessarily playing their absolute first choice either. And with just the weirdness of 2020 and travel and all the different things, I'm thinking draw just because I think most friendlies are going to be draws right now. That's the way I go with it. The EFL, I believe the Premier League, are petitioning the UK government to have fans allowed to come in. This is down to the financials. There's just no way around it. I don't know where that's going to go necessarily. I don't know how well that's going to go. But that is on the table. Has that gotten to an official petition, or is that still just being talked about right now?
Still just being talked about. I haven't heard
it's
anything
being
officially.
urged. So the FA and the leagues have urged the government to allow fans back in the stands. See if there's anything else here from it. They were hoping to allow 25 to 33% capacity starting October 1st. That was put on hold as part of new restrictions to limit the spread of COVID-19. So Richard Masters, CEO of the Premier League, FA CEO Mark Bullingham, FA Director of Women's Football Kelly Simmons, and EFL Chief Exec David Baldwin have said they've been working together to make the venue safe for the return of fans. They submitted a letter that said there has been 11 successful test events. They've demonstrated that they can deliver matches safely. The sooner we can return, the sooner we can reunite communities and support local jobs, livelihoods, regional businesses, and also the national economy. 42,000 deaths in the United Kingdom related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Other countries are going to do the same, I think, just because this is becoming an issue financially. The EFL has a tweet. So they have urged and they have issued a letter. I don't think it's gotten to an official government petition. I don't know what that process would be, to be perfectly honest. Also, on the Italian front, Bain Capital and CVC are revising their bids to try to get a piece of the Italian top-flight broadcast revenue. They've revised their final bids to get a slice of Serie A's lucrative broadcasting rights business for the next 10 years. The deadline was initially going to be October 9th. That has been postponed. The offers will be reviewed by Serie A club presidents on October 13th. Now, this also comes as Serie A president Paolo Del Pino, who strongly supports the plan to monetize the league's broadcasting rights and help the club's finances. He tested positive for COVID-19 on Tuesday, so things have been pushed back. That gives Bain Capital and CVC Capital more time to try to get something done and update their bids. That's a good thing for the Italian game, because if they are updating their bids, they are probably adding zeros to their bids or adding numbers instead of zeros to their bids. So you're not going to hate that if you're Serie A. This is one that came up and burned, if you're still with us, before we go. I don't know if there's more detail on it. German authorities search offices and homes in a German Football Association tax evasion probe. Search the offices of the DFB and private homes of current and former officials on suspicion of serious tax evasion. That came from the Frankfurt prosecutor's office. So that's one to keep an eye on. We talked about Barca trying to reduce their salaries and starting that official process of what that looks like. Last thing on internationals to keep an eye on. Belgium are still waiting on whether Dries Mertens will be allowed to leave Italy and join up with the national team for their internationals. He is in Naples, and Naples, players for Napoli have not been allowed to leave. They couldn't go play Juventus. So this follows along with that. So it makes Juventus's stance look a little even more ridiculous when you've got players who can't leave to go play for a national team. Okay, questions on the Twitch pitch before we wrap up. And Bernd, if there's anything else on that German thing, let me know if it's something to really follow closely. Wow, Michael Ruiz is pulling one fast here. I'm not going to be able to dig all the way into this, Michael. He says, since you have the board, I need a U.S. men's national team starting 11 if we had a competitive game tonight. Please. Man, let's do it this way. So it would have been in the United States. It would have been a U.S.-based MLS squad.
Right.
Let's look at the best U.S. players per who scored this season in terms of their ratings and try to build a little bit of a squad. So Jordan Morris, no question. He's in the team. Cole Bassett has actually been really good for Colorado, probably not in the team just yet. Darlington Nagbe, if he wanted to play, has been very, very good. Would he want to play at this point? I don't know. I don't really have the answer to that. I think he'd get the call in that kind of situation. Sebastian Lletget would get that call more than likely. Jossie Zardes would be starting up top. Kyle Duncan's an interesting one with the Red Bulls. 29th best player in MLS according to their Who Scored rating at right back. When you're just pulling from MLS, Duncan could be in that mix. I don't have a problem with him getting at least into the squad. I don't know if he's in the lineup to start. Chris Mueller's an interesting one.
Yep.
Been really, really good. If it is just a U.S.-based team, Mueller probably gets that call, at least to be part of the squad. I don't see how he wouldn't at this point. Mark McKenzie would be there. Would Miles Robinson be there? I think it's a safe bet. Aaron Long, the usual suspects in the back. I don't think Tim Parker would get that opportunity. Would a Matt Hedges maybe? Possibly. Jordy Mihailovic has been good for Chicago. Would he get that call? Probably, because he's been in the mix and Berhalter knows him and likes him. Walker Zimmerman as one of the defenders. He's been good for Nashville. I don't have a problem with that. Another one that's interesting is Kyrie Shelton for Kansas City. Another guy who's produced this year, one who really hasn't had opportunities, but if it's just a U.S.-based squad, would he get that opportunity? In a year like this, maybe. Maybe so. Christian Roldan would be one in the holding midfield for sure. Sean Johnson in goal would probably get the opportunity. A couple other wild cards here, 3 other ones that are in the top, 4 other ones that are in the top 70 in terms of ratings from Who Scored, all above a 7.0 out of 10. And that's all based on stats. That's not voting in. Hassani Dotson, who's been kind of on the fringe. Maybe he gets that opportunity. I'll throw Chase Gasper into that mix as a player who's played really well this season. Donovan Pines has got good ratings from D.C. I don't think he's there yet, but I do think Donovan Pines is a player to watch. I've been really impressed with him on bad D.C. teams. I'd like to see him with good teams. Brandon Bye for New England has been very good, and he's a player who was an attacker in college. He's converted to a right back. He's got speed. He's got work rate. He can be effective in the final third, and he's a good defender. Brandon Bye's a wild card to keep an eye on. He wouldn't make a full national team, but would he get a call for something like this? Would he get a call for like a January camp? Yeah, that's fair. Aaron Herrera for Real Salt Lake is another one who's been in the youth national team mix. Would he get that opportunity as a left back? Maybe he's competing with Gasper. So those are the names that are being highly rated in terms of Who Scored. Is there anybody else you think would get into that mix? Aronson probably would.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, who are you thinking in net?
Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson, Brad. I think Sean's probably been a little bit better this year. Probably lean to Sean.
Would Bello get a look?
It's possible. He's playing really well. I think it'd be him, it'd be Gasper, it'd be Herrera as all possibilities at that left back with just an MLS-based squad. Bello is probably in the mix for the Olympic squad next year, would be my guess. Maybe the U20s, and that's it, but I would think he'd be in the mix for the Olympic squad next year, and whatever qualifying they have to do ahead of that.
Okay.
I think he's moved up to that level.
Those were the 2 questions I had.
You got veterans that you could bring in to give a little stability, like a Bedoya, like a McCarty. You know, you've got guys like that could fit in as well. So you could put together a good squad with guys who are playing well in MLS and be competitive. But if they were going to play, if they would have played in this window, it would have been a domestic game. That was the plan, and it would have been an MLS squad. So those are the names and some new faces that might pop up.
Here's what Bart has.
Okay.
He's got Zardes, Morris, Mueller, Aronson, Jackson Ewell, Gianluca Busio, Gasper, McKenzie, Long, Lennon on the right with a question mark, and Sean Johnson in net.
Busio would be the one that I probably wouldn't go with there. I'd go with a veteran, probably Roldan as like the holding midfielder there. I'd have Busio in the squad and try to get him some minutes, but I'd start with Roldan, just a little more stability. Good with Aronson. Lennon's absolutely in that mix. Emerson Hyndman's in that mix, too, with the way he's played lately as well. So those are 2 guys to keep an eye on for those kinds of calls. No problem with that.
There you go.
I'd go Roldan would be the only main sub that I would have.
We're caught up on the Twitters officially.
All right, Turner Kirby, how long do you think MLS teams can survive in a competitive sense? There's a better term for it, but I can't think of it. With partial attendance, and when do you think they start lobbying for more? Not till next season. I don't think you start lobbying for more this season. I think they'll do what they have to do to get through the year, and they will want to start next season with full capacity.
Yeah.
Will they be able to? I don't know. That's what all the leagues are doing, by the way. National Hockey League's talking about a January 1st start because they hope to have full attendance. NBA will probably hold off as long as it takes to have full attendance. NFL's got the TV money behind it. They're able to weather this a little bit differently. Major League Baseball would not surprise me if they felt like they had to start a little bit later to make sure they have full attendance. They would. How will MLS do that? I don't know exactly, to be honest, but I think they will lobby hard for full attendance from the jump next year. And we don't know. I mean, we don't know what next week's going to bring, let alone what March 1st is going to bring next year. So I don't think they start lobbying more now, Turner. I think it's next year that they do. Yeah. Kefsey asks in that regard about kits dropping soon. That would help clubs immensely, or some right now. That's a good call. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe – I think generally they've tried to release the kits in the weeks preceding the start of the season. If they moved that before Christmas – before the holiday season, they should. They should do that anyway.
Yeah.
But, they should start unveiling kits and spread them out if you want to do that. I don't think it really matters because you're not buying a whole bunch of other teams' kits. But if they want to spread it out to get maximum coverage, spread them out, start releasing next year's kits as early as November. I have no problem with that, and start selling them. Update from Bernd on the German FA situation. He said it's an odd story. The FA treated certain advertising revenue from the ad boards not as operating income, didn't pay full taxes on it. They called it investment income and paid lower taxes. Sounds like a technicality, not a criminal or corrupt endeavor, but they're going after them hard, and he's not sure why they're going after them so hard there. Turner says, happy 104th year anniversary to 222-0. The only good thing to come out of Georgia Tech. Man, that whole nonsense of a game. Captain Ragamuffin to Burns says, because governments are horribly greedy and always want more people's money? Maybe so. Maybe. Kefsey's driving the Busio train. I would go Roldan to start just in a competitive game, and I'd give Busio like maybe the last 30 minutes of it in that 6th role at the national team level to see what's up. I'm not all the way there yet. Not all the way there. So want to see more. I wonder where he is in terms of his who scored rating as I continue to scroll down. Getting Keegan Rosenberry in there. Matt Turner would be a potential goalkeeper starter. I'd have no problem with that. Daniel Lovitz is a guy we've seen with the national team before. I'm past 100 and I'm not seeing him yet. Sam Vines, good young left back, will be competing with Bello. Bello's got a better rating for the season. Daniel Steris, Justin Glad, Brooks Lennon. Where is Gianluca Busio in terms of these ratings? Fafa Pico, David Bingham, Steve Clark, Aaron Long, Chase Gasper, Frankie Amaya, Memo Rodriguez. Love that Houston re-signed Memo Rodriguez. I want to see him take the next step. Ryan Hollingshead, Benji Michelle, Graham Zusi, Eric Valentin, Josh Williams, Marky Delgado, Mauricio Pineda, Nick Dupuy, Keaton Parks, Steve Birnbaum, Perry Kitchen. I mean, did I miss Gianluca Busio? I'm almost down to 200. DeJuan Jones, Jonathan Bornstein, Josie Altidore, Joe Willis, Tristan Blackman, Justin Morrow, Ben Sweat, Jonathan Lewis, Tommy McNamara, Shane O'Neill, Jeremy Abobasi, Omar Gonzalez, Nick Lima. Good grief. Now I got to go look at Kansas City because this has got me spooked. What is Gianluca Busio's rating according to Who Scored this season? Because I would have thought he'd have been up higher than that. It's 6.84. That's, I mean, not bad, but I would assume that it was bad early and it's gotten better.
Yeah.
But still, that gives you a sense of where the season has been. I would not have him starting. I would have Roldan start that game. But it's hypothetical because it's not happening. South American qualifiers start tomorrow. Our friends at Fanatis have the pay-per-view for you there. Now, They're limited based off the people who bought the rights and what they can sell them for. They can't sell them less than the price per game. It's $29.95. So what they did is they packaged, if you want Argentina's games, for example, and you get both of them, they're giving you a discount. It's $49.95 for the 2 games. So you get a little bit of a discount if you buy both. And they're throwing in 3 months of the Fanati service. So if you are not a subscriber to Fanati's yet, that's a no-brainer if you're going to watch these games. fntz.co/soccer down here to get sorted out. You do the slash weird.
Slash.
Okay. Okay, you need like a sound effect for it or something. There you go. So fntz.co/soccer down here. You didn't do it that time. I caught you by surprise.
Slash.
Yeah. 3 games tomorrow. The only game that you can watch separately from the pay-per-views is Venezuela's home match, which is on beIN Sports, which you can watch on Fanati's. So also the Argentine League coming back at the end of the month, and those games will be on Fanati's. So if you want to get in on it, fntz.co/soccer down here. There you go. Good job. All right. We are on stoppage time at 12 noon, facebook.com/929 the game. Then Mexico and the Netherlands at 2:30 on ESPN2. AT&T countdown to kickoff will be just after 6 o'clock on the Atlanta United social media channels with the lineup, and Mike and I will break that down for you. We're on the air at 6:30. Before that, I'm on with Counterattack on Sirius XMFC at 5:40 with Janusz Mihalik and Brian Dunseth. Then on 92.9 at 6:30. Then they take us for the game and the full-time report on Sirius XMFC, and it's on 92.9 the game, and it's on the radio.com app, and it's on the Atlanta United app. And then I'll talk to Doug after that and do Southern Fried Soccer. And then I will come home and pass out. How about that?
There you go.
I already have the beer waiting on me when I get home, when I get back after a long day at the office.
Yep.
And the Braves play at 2 o'clock as well, and see if they can do another good job as they have been doing. Go Braves, go Atlanta United, go... Are we going for Mexico or the Netherlands, or are we going for both managers to have a good day? I think I'm going for both
managers to have a good day.
Go Tata and go Frank, and we'll see what happens. And we'll see you all in stoppage time here in a few minutes. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.